We're going to start the meeting. Prynhawn da croeso. Good afternoon and welcome to this multi-location meeting of the Cabinet Scrutiny Committee on the 28th of November 2023. I am Councillor Phil Rogers and I will be chairing this meeting. Please can you ensure that your phones are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. In addition, when asked to raise your hand, if members who are virtually viewing at this meeting could raise your electronic hand, and for members in the council chamber, just raise your hand. For the purposes of declarations, I would like to confirm that we'll be scrutinising items 7, 8, 9 and 14 of the Cabinet papers today. I realise that some people couldn't make pre-briefing. Are there any questions on any other items that they would like to raise if they weren't in pre-briefing, please? I can't see any indication there is, so we will progress and we'll move on to agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest this afternoon, please? Councillor Sian Harris.
Hi, afternoon. Agenda item 6, nomination of the elected member to the National Adoption Services Committee, because that's myself that we're talking about. And I'm not sure, Craig, do I have to declare an interest in agenda item 8, Audit Wales Digital Strategy Review, because I took part in the review and I'm named in it?
Thank you for that, Councillor Harris. No, there's no need to declare for the agenda item 8. For agenda item 6, I understand it's not being scrutinised in this particular meeting anyway, but you just have to declare it when you go into the Cabinet meeting next.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Councillor Harris. Cannot see any other indications of declarations, so we'll move now on to item 3, the pre-decision scrutiny, and move to the Cabinet Board agenda. We're moving on to item number 7. Item number 7 on the Cabinet agenda is setting council tax base for 2024-2025, listed on pages 11 to 16 of the agenda report. Officers, would you like to add anything additional to the report?
No, thank you. Dim diolch, Chair.
Thank you, Hugh. Members' questions. I have an indication initially from Councillor Patterson in the chamber, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Hugh, where's he sitting? Oh, there, sorry. Right, okay. Been a councillor for quite a while now, but every time this time of year, I read this report and I'm not sure if I quite get it, so I'm here again. I'm a slow learner, okay? So is it that our we get a certain amount of allowance for each tax band and or councils, and then you add them all up to know what is the minimum spend that our council, not spend, our minimum amount for council tax can be? So that's like the base rate. Is that it?
Yes and no. So if I explain what we do, so as at the 31st of October, every council in Wales has to provide the Welsh Government with their council tax base. So basically you count every house in the County Borough Council from bands A to I, and then convert them into a band D equivalent. And then we would estimate then the number of new build properties to come online next year. So we would know all the planning applications that have been approved. So we'd add those into the figure. So then that gives us a council tax base for next year. And then when the Welsh Government comes up with a settlement, the local government settlement for next year, they will come up with what's called the SSA, which is the standard spending assessment. So they say we need to spend X as a council to deliver services, and the same for the other 21 councils in Wales. And then they deduct from that SSA then the amount of income they say we should be able to generate from council tax. So they would take the council tax base times by an assumed figure that they apply across Wales. One times the other gives you a figure. They take that off the standard spending assessment and then they give you the balance as revenue support grant. So it's just a means of making sure that councils who have different ways of generating council tax sort of equalises it so the SSA is the same for everybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Thank you.
Great.
So just not for today's question, but I'll probably come back to you after the meeting. If the way the banding is changed, that would affect this type of formula, yeah?
Yes, certainly. So at the moment, as you know, 85% of our properties are bands A to C, so therefore they bring down the number of band D equivalents that we have because it's extra ninths below. if obviously everybody was in band I, then your band D equivalent would be greater. So yeah, yes, the banding will change that figure substantially. Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much for
Okay.
that. I just
Yes, so in terms of the Welsh Government proposals around changes to the council tax system, we'll be bringing a report back in front of the Cabinet to consider our response to the various options being proposed as well, Councillor Patterson. So Karen just reminded me of that, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Hugh. Very clear. Okay, Councillor Patterson, fine. Thank you. Are there any other questions, please? I can't see any indication of further questions, so we'll move along. The recommendations are listed on page 14 of the Cabinet Agenda Pack and is for immediate implementation. I am happy to propose it. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'm happy to second, Mr. Chair. Oh God, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Can members please indicate if they wish to abstain? The scrutiny officer will confirm if there are any abstentions.
See no abstentions, Chair.
Thank you, Alison. Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that this decision is supported to Cabinet.
I see no indications to the contrary, Chair, so the recommendation is supported Cabinet.
Thank you, Alison. Moving along. Item 8, Audit Wales Digital Strategy Review. The organisational response on pages 17 to 66 of the report. Officers, would you like to add anything additional to the report?
Nothing further to add. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Looking at members' questions, I have a few from Councillor Susan Patterson in the chamber, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. I feel like I'm monopolising things here, but there we are. Okay. We have a review. We've had that audit. I'm not on audit committee, so I'm not used to this type of report. However, it does say in here that we've got the transformational reserve of 1.2 million to have there ready for whatever you may want to decide for digitalisation for the council. And I can see the rationale for that. But many times it says in the report and in the document and in the response document, it says we haven't put a timeline on anything yet. Is there a reason? You know, it just says we haven't got a timeline. Why haven't we got a timeline?
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. So when Audit Wales carried out the thematic review, the strategy, or our new digital data and technology strategy, had just been published. So at that time, we were developing the accompanying delivery plan that sits alongside the strategy. And in the Audit Wales response, you'll note that they mentioned that the council had developed robust arrangements for delivering the plan, which was directly related to how we'd explained the delivery plan to them and how it was going to work. What we weren't able to show them was it in practice, though, because it hadn't actually gone live at that point. It's now gone live. We have a full process around prioritization of demands that are coming through to digital services. We're looking at whether they're going to drive efficiencies, whether there's going to be improved ways of working, improved service delivery for our citizens and customers. Once it gets prioritized through a digital transformation board, it gets locked into a digital pipeline, which is effectively a fully prioritized pipeline of digital activities with start and finish dates against them. They get fully monitored. They'll be reporting back to corporate directors on a quarterly basis, and it will come through to Cabinet P&R then for annual review as well.
Councillor Patterson, can you pop your mic on, please?
My next question then was going to be along the lines of the pipeline tracker. What's already in it, and how far along the pipe are they, and how do you know, unless you're clairvoyant, what a long-term strategy for digitalisation will be? I mean, if somebody'd asked you 10 years ago where we'd be now in digital, you probably not. We won't be there. But we are, and I just wondered how you can make a long-term plan plus put resources in. So I don't expect full questions today, Chair, answers today, because I am thinking of trying to put this on the forward work programme so that Cabinet Scrutiny can have a look at how we're going to, we get this. So I'll be asking a lot more of those questions. I'm really interested in this. It's very vital for the modern world. So how are you going to assess the 1.2, how far that's going to go?
It's great observation, and it's one of the reasons why we didn't put a timeline on the digital data and technology strategy, which is what Audit Wales had picked up on. They were used to seeing a strategy that was locked in for 3 years or 5 years. But as you quite rightly point out, digital is changing on such a regular basis that it's just developing all the time. So the whole premise of the strategy is that it's going to be reviewed on an annual basis. The statements that we've got in this strategy around the what, how, and the why will be reviewed. They'll be linked back to the programs of work that we've got locked into the delivery plan. So as new demands come through from the council, we'll be looking at how they align back to the strategy and to the corporate, the objectives. In terms of the transformation fund, that money is effectively put to one side to support some of the biggest transformation pieces that we want to do. But we've been very careful around how we're going to prioritise those and make sure that we're prioritising the right things for the council. And again, that will come through then as part of our reporting process for full scrutiny and review.
Thanks very
Thank you,
much.
Chris.
Thanks very much, Chair. I will mention it when we come to the forward work programme. I think there's more that I can get out of a forward work programme than just a scrutiny. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Thank you, Chris. I have Councillor Carol Clement Williams next, please.
Thank you, Chair. Suzanne has covered a couple of the things I was going to ask, and I understand the answer, the last answer, but there has to be, although it's not very specific at this stage, there still must be a timeline somewhere on what we want, where we want to be, and by when. When are we going to see that? And it also mentions the cost, and that this timetable for the plan. The timetable and the costs. When do you envisage you will be in a position to tell us those things? And finally, is the digital strategy taking a hit, although there is money aside for this, because of the overall finances of the council due to the current economic climate?
Chris, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clement Williams. So the delivery plan is available to be published now. So I'm happy to share that with councillors, because it's effectively in that position. Each of the programmes of work within the digital pipeline are from across all the directorates within the council, and some of them are cross-council activities as well. And as part of the work getting locked into the pipeline, that is when we're reviewing the actual financial implications of whatever it might be. So it may be, to give you a quick example, we're looking at a new fleet management system at the moment with vehicle tracking. Now that's gone through its own sort of business case, it's gone through its own sort of review process, and the funding's been assigned to that programme of work. As part of it then going on to the digital pipeline so that I can lock the resources in from digital services, we're making sure that it ticks those boxes, it aligns to the strategy, and that we can support its implementation. So there's in the region of 30 to 40 different programs of work already on the pipeline like that, which are fully resourced with a start date, with an end date, with a benefits realization table against them. So that can be shared to give you full transparency around that. And I think that will probably colour in some of the gaps around what you've seen so far, if that's helpful.
Yes, excellent. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah,
Williams?
I'd appreciate that, Chair. Yeah. And what about the other questions on the fee? The finance?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one at the moment. We're obviously looking at the impact of the financial savings that we're required to make in future years. We are seeing digital as one of the organisations' way to transform services. So what we're trying to do is be very careful around how we manage the resources within digital services so that we can support the transformation in other service areas. And I think it's going to be an ongoing one to monitor and develop, really. There are areas that we want to focus on around things like artificial intelligence, automation, and so on and so forth, where we've really started to see some net gains in saving officer time, and there'll be further programs of work like that. You'll see some of those, though, quite specific on the pipeline when it comes through to you as well.
Okay, thanks, Chair. If I may, just, I mean, because as you will be aware, sometimes you need to speculate to accumulate. and sometimes it's worth that extra little bit of investment to do something a little bit more now that's going to save money in the long run. And I'm just concerned that and I'm not saying it's happening or anything, I'm just concerned that we don't do something because we can't afford it now, but further down the line it would have saved us money, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Thank you, Councillor Clement Williams. We'll bring in Hugh, please.
Yep, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Clement Williams. Just a couple of observations there, I suppose. Over the last 3 years, we have actually increased the digital services budget by £400,000 to create capacity to do exactly what you just articulated in your question. And also, when we come to Cabinet in December, you'll see that we're actually looking at some sort of transformation initiative where we're putting sort of money in from reserves now to deliver hopefully longer term ongoing revenue savings. So those sorts of things are what we are progressing at the moment, Councillor Clement Williams, and you'll have some more visibility around some of those shortly in the Cabinet in December. Thank you.
Oh, that's fab. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clement Williams. Next up, please, is Councillor Charlotte Goldsworthy, please.
Good afternoon, all. I don't know if this is now really, or if it's the forward work programme, but I'll be honest, due to the issues of the ModGov, I haven't had a chance to really scrutinise this document. But I think a lot when it comes to IT is I learn more by seeing rather than reading about it. And I'm just concerned that with the digital going forward, that there might be things that may be missed, which I'm concerned about. And it's like about more of the detail of how it works I'd like to see. So I don't know whether that would come into a work programme thing, or would it be an extra seminar? And I would like to see visually how things would be connected more between departments and that.
Thank you, Councillor Goldsworthy. I think the answer to that, we're just having a little chat on the French bench here now, and we'll be looking at the seminar, we think, for the future. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on this item, please? Can't see any indication. We'll move along next to item 9. Oh, sorry. As it's a recommendation, I need to take the vote. The recommendation is listed on page 20 of the Cabinet Agenda Pack and is for immediate implementation. I am happy to propose it. Can I have a seconder, please?
I second.
Thank you. Can members please indicate if they wish to abstain?
I can't see any abstentions, Chair.
Thank you, Alison. Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that this decision is supported to Cabinet.
Can't see any indications to the contrary, Chair, so the recommendation is supported to Cabinet.
Thank you, Alison. Thanks, everyone. Move along to item 9, the Corporate Plan Reset, Review and Recovery for 2022 to 2027. And this is an annual report for the period of the 1st of April 2022 to the 31st of March 2023, listed on page 67 to page 128 of the pack. Officers, would you like to add anything additional to the report?
Nothing to add, Chair. Diolch.
Thank you, Noelwyn. On to members' questions. I have one indication at the moment. Over to Councillor Suzanne Patterson, please.
Thank you again, Chair. Right, on page 68, number 6, first top of the page, the wellbeing objectives will remain, but we look to review our corporate plan outcomes and priorities for action in the period, which will be informed by the output from the recent Let's Keep Talking campaign. My question is, how much will it be based on the results of that campaign? And do we think that there is sufficient numbers of people, residents of the county borough, of which we have approximately 140,000? It seems to me sometimes that we are putting too much weight on the people that do reply, and the people that do reply have taken the trouble to reply and to be applauded, to helping the council with their questions and the consultation. But I just wanted to know how much they're going to be relying on the results of the Let's Talk campaign, because I'm not quite happy with the numbers of people that do actually, come back to that.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Can I bring Nolwenn in, please?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Patterson. In terms of the Let's Keep Talking campaign, it's just one of the factors that we'd be taking into consideration when we review the corporate plan. We have to take into consideration elements around finances in terms of where we are, the money, etc., current legislation, where we are on current performance, and where we know we need to improve on moving forward. So the areas that will have been identified through the self-assessment that we've conducted as an authority, and obviously consultation feedback. And the consultation feedback is as part of the budget setting process, will be aligned with the priorities that we're setting out for 24-25. So there'll be an opportunity via that consultation period that will be commencing in December here, I believe, with regards to the budget and the priorities that we'll be looking to deliver for 24-25. So it's an element in terms of Let's Keep Talking survey. What I would say is that we engaged with Opinion Research Services, an independent body in terms of social research company, and we'll be inviting them in to present the findings of the Let's Keep Talking survey, and they will also be able to give you quite an in-depth understanding of the methodology used around the qualitative and quantitative data captured as part of that survey. But it's an element of how will be preparing the corporate plan for 24-25.
The question was how much weighting is applied to that rather than other things, because if we're just going to be relying on that, I'm not happy with the numbers of people who have well, everybody has opportunity, obviously, because the council consults with everybody, every resident, but it's not really down to individual citizens to come back. I mean, we have elections for that. We all, as councillors, go and see our residents and say what we intend to do, what we don't intend to do. And we have constant feedback as well. As councillors, we get people ringing us all the time. I don't like those umps down there, 20-mile-an-hour limit, we get consultation all the time. And I'm wondering just how much weighting is applied to a Let's Talk campaign.
I think it's an iterative process. We don't put a figure of weighting in terms of that respect, but I think you've mentioned in terms of feedback you get yourselves from residents, etc. So the opportunities for yourselves as well as elected members in the new year to feed into the discussions we'll be having on the corporate plan priorities for 24-25. So I think what's important for us as an authority is to ensure that we are gathering the views of the residents, of yourself as elected members, of businesses, third sector partners. So it's an inclusive process, including the trade unions. We had an excellent staff council this morning, and the engagement that they will be having from a social partnership perspective in the drawing up of the corporate plan for 24-25. And it's very clear that Neath Talbot Council lead the way in terms of its engagement with the trade unions, and that social partnership will be an important part of that. So it is an iterative process in terms of that. We don't put weightings on any particular element of that iterative process, but it all ensures that we put in place a corporate plan that will be focusing on delivering the priorities of the residents of Neath Talbot Council and yourselves as elected members.
Thank you, Nolwenn. Councillor Patterson?
Just want to make sure that those residents that actually say what they want, and I applaud them, are not the people that's in the minority then, rather than people got busy lives and they're not always going to come back to us. So I'd just be watching that, and thanks for the explanation.
Thank you. Could I bring Karen, our Chief Executive, in, please?
If you don't mind, because I think it's quite tricky, isn't it, about trying to get a really good insight from all different sections of the community. It's quite an effort you need to make to do that. But I think just to give you some assurances, ultimately it's the council meeting as full council that decides the wellbeing objectives and signs off the actions. So when we are gathering this information together, I think what's really important is you understand whose views it is that we've gathered, so you can make sense of what conclusions you can draw from that data set. no one data set on its own is going to point us to a perfect set of priorities. There are going to be trade-offs between what business think is important, what people who are not in work think is important, what people who are in work think is important, and all of that complexity that I know that you understand. I think what's really important is we understand the data that we've gathered, the way we've analysed it, and then I think it's a process of debate to arrive at a judgment on what we think at any one point in time best reflects the needs of the people right across the county borough. And they are political decisions for a good reason, is because there are trade-offs involved in that. And I don't envy you all some of the choices you've got to make in the current financial climate, because of course we always want to do more than the resources allow us to do. So I think just to give a bit of reassurance on that, it's not officers taking data, trying to do scientifically, work out things. It's about bringing different information before you, helping you understand those different trade-offs that we've got, and then hopefully you come to a rounded view around that. I think around the Let's Keep Talking as well, because there have been a number of questions about that particular campaign over a number of meetings now. As Noelwyn has said, what we think might be useful is if we ask the researchers to come in, explain the methodology, give you the opportunity to ask direct questions, because there are firm conclusions you can draw from the information that we've gathered in, but there will be gaps in it because no piece of research is perfect. So hopefully that'll be helpful as well. So you'll be able to kind of understand then, well, how much store can you put to that particular data set, because it does have a value, but equally as well, there will be gaps in that. And we need to make sure then when we're doing the other work that we do, that we're finding ways of actually gathering that information as well.
Many thanks, Karen. Does that answer your question, Councillor Wilson? Smashing. Thank you very much. Next up is Councillor Charlotte Goldsworthy, please.
Yeah, I think Karen and a few others know what I'm going to say anyway, but I'll keep on saying it anyway because I feel I'm on that roundabout. In one, I didn't realise that we're actually paying for an outside body to do it, and obviously in the given climate financially now, obviously is that really the best way to be doing it? When I referred back to the database and the detail of things, one of the biggest things for me is, as I think it was Councillor Patterson said, is that all the feedback doesn't just come back to us elected members, but it's everyone that answers a phone to the public, deals with the public, from the bin men all the way up. And I think the way forward is where there's a system that as much of that information is collated and in a database and analysed for what isn't working, what is working, what the needs are going forward. And that is why I've got big concerns, because what I find, I didn't even know the Let's Talk campaign was even in my own ward until I seen photos on Facebook the day after. So, and I'm not one to actually miss out on things, but I do appreciate that people who go around to the same coffee mornings and the same organisations that we have done for 30 years. And I'm all for getting out and getting all the community, and it's door knocking. That's where you get it. So as Councillor Patterson said, as borough elections, elections should be every single day that we're out there, really, not just every 4 years. We need to be knocking them doors, not just as members, but as staff too sometimes, knowing what they say, because there's a lot of money I see is being wasted on a lot of things, or we're doing wrong things because we're not, and that's our Bible. So that's my rant for today on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Goldsworthy. Can I bring Noelwyn in, please?
I'll pick up on the questions regarding the why we engage with an external company, simply to give us capacity to carry out that piece of work, Councillor Goldsworthy. I think the reference you're making there really is just to kind of data in itself, is it? There's so much of it available. It's the kind of the big data question. Where do you put all that together into one place, analyze it, and do all the triangulation of that data? So again, we are building capacity within the authority, within Chris's team, to allow us to in the future move forward in terms of triangulating a lot more of the data sets that do exist out there to give us a richer picture. But it does do that. It gives us a richer picture, and it's important that we do capture as much of that data in the best way possible, so that we do have the ability to to analyse that data ourselves moving forward, and that's the capacity we've built into the team with Chris moving forward.
Thank you, Nolwenn. Councillor Goldsworthy, are you happy with the response?
That's a bit of a riddle for me then, to be honest, but I think I know what you mean.
Is that right? Thank you. Can you repeat again? Sorry, we didn't quite catch it in the chamber then.
I said the response is a bit like a riddle for me, so I think I actually get what he meant by that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Next up, I have Councillor Carol Clement Williams, please.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, so to carry on from that, number one, how much is that outside consultant going to cost? But number two, I've mentioned it over the years that we don't do enough sort of exit surveys in our venues. And I think getting feedback from people that have had services from us is really important to find out what went well, what didn't go well, how we can improve it. And I don't think we do enough of it in the council. Thanks.
Nolwenn then, please.
Thank you for the question. So I don't have that figure to hand in terms of the cost, but we can get that back to you. I think what you're referring to is what we refer to as a service user perspective, Councillor. And it's a piece of work that we are embarking on now as we pull together the corporate plan for 24-25. It is vitally important, as you correctly articulated, that we do gain an insight into what our users think of the services that we provide. So we will definitely be building that now into the corporate plan moving forward, and it's a piece of work that we need to do. And we've also got, obviously, our staff are recipients of our services as well, and the work that we do as an authority. So we will be feeding all that into ensuring that we've got a suite of measures that we can put in place around that service user perspective.
Thank you, Nolwenn. That's quite encouraging, to be honest.
Chair, can I just come back briefly on that?
No problem, Councillor Clement Williams.
Thanks. I know the Chief Exec is very keen to find out from people what it is that they want us to provide, as opposed to just giving them a service that we think that they want. But it worked very well in my previous role as a civil servant, where we shifted the focus from, well, this is what you got, if you don't like it, tough, to, right, what is it we can do for you that's going to help you run your business, because we were dealing with car hire companies and things like that. And as an individual then who needs our services, what is it that you want us to provide that we're not, rather than assume. So I'm not suggesting we don't do it, but what I'm saying is it is the most important way to plan out how to improve on things, so I know that you get that, but that was my point, and it's extremely important that we always remember that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Clement Williams. Your points have been duly noted here, and it's quite encouraging from Nolwenn that I think we are moving towards that now, and the more responses we get, the better service we'll have. Thank you. Are there any other questions, please? Back to Councillor Patterson, please.
Thank you so much. It's just a one-liner, really. It's just that we really must be aware of consultation fatigue, because, if you buy anything on a well-known website, as soon as you've bought it, they want to know what you thought about it. What was the courier like? What was it? So I think people are being bombarded, and I don't blame them at all if they feel, oh, hang on now, I just want a service. I don't want to have to tell you how to do it. So just be aware, that's all.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Bring Karen back in, please.
I absolutely get the point you're making, and it does feel a bit wearying on our side of the table, I think, on occasion. Unfortunately, from a legal point of view, we have to consult, and I know you know that. And given the recent changes in the legislation as well around participation strategy duties and all the rest of it, there is a more extensive obligation now to be going and asking people before you've even formulated a proposal, and then at every point up to making a decision, and then involving people in the monitoring and evaluation. So I'm afraid, there is going to be more of this type of activity. And I think when people are able to engage in that, you do, as Councillor Clement Williams has just said, get a real insight in what matters to people. And then you can do something with that, can't you, in terms of response? But I think when people are leading such busy lives, and I think at the moment when people's lives are so hard as well, some of this other stuff just doesn't land with people. So that means that we've just got to make sure that we are working as smartly as we can and persevering really to try and make sure we understand how people are experiencing our services and how they're experiencing their life in the county borough as well.
Many thanks, Karen. Thank you. Are there any other questions on this item, please? I can't see any indications. Okay, we'll move. The recommendation is listed on page 70 of the Cabinet Agenda Pack. I'm happy to propose it. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can members please indicate if they wish to abstain?
I can see no abstentions, Chair.
Thank you, Alison. Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that this decision is supported to Cabinet.
I can see no indications to the contrary, Chair. The recommendation is supported Cabinet.
Thank you, Alison. Moving along. We're back to the Cabinet Scrutiny agenda now. Agenda item 4, the Forward Work Programme, which is on pages 5 or 6 of the Cabinet Scrutiny agenda. This item's for noting unless members have any comments. Councillor Paterson.
Sorry to monopolise, Chair. I did mention in the pre-brief that I've got particular interest in the digital work that the council are going to be going forward. So I would like in some way for some, I know it's to be reviewed annually, which is great, but I think I would like personally to have a little bit more of the up-to-date stuff that you've just alluded to today and put something on the forward work programme for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paterson. Duly noted. Thank you. Any other comments? I can see no indications. We'll move along to agenda item 5, urgent items. You'll be delighted to hear that I don't have any today. Agenda item 6, access to meetings. I am proposing to resolve to exclude the public for the rest of the Cabinet agenda. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Okay, can we stop the recording, please, and exclude